Hey everybody, it is John Lone King, and it is Friday, the 1st of May. We are officially a third of the way through 2026. It is crazy. Most of you, if you watch me at all, know that I went through a shift in organization. My company sold back in March. We've just finished our first full month at Cross Country Mortgage, and lots of amazing things that I have shared with you already, and even more to share as we go forward. But let's dive into our market updates. We're going to talk about the market big picture. We're going to talk about what's happening with interest rates, how that's being impacted by the Fed, by the war, what's happening with buyers and sellers this spring as we're in the middle of the spring buying and selling season. And then I'm going to talk about the Dream for All program real quick and give you an update on that for those of you who want updates on Dream for All. And then I'm going to talk about how you can buy a home with less than 20% down and no mortgage insurance through a special program that we have. So that's what I'm going to cover today. Let's go ahead and dive in and cover it. So first of all, great news. The housing market is moving again. Now, this is subject to interpretation. There's lots of reports that you will see. Those reports show historical month-old, two-month-old data, Case-Shiller numbers, lots of stuff that talks about what's happening with the housing market that's not real time. Housing Wire, through Altos Research, has real-time numbers on what's happening with listings and active homes that go on the market and how quickly they sell. And their interpretation, and I'm kind of seeing the same thing. Obviously, everything is localized to each market is different, but they're saying, and I'm seeing, hey, the market's actually moving again. We're seeing buyers and sellers come together. Now, the problem is that we've got buyers and sellers that are willing to work together, and then you've got the buyers and sellers that think that it is either 2021 as a seller saying, hey, I can get anything I want for my house, I'm still in charge. And then you got the buyers thinking that it is, 2024 when rates were at 8% and there were no buyers out there and saying, hey, it's a buyer's market. And the truth is a lot in 2025 felt like a buyer's market. And now it's kind of shifting back to a market that's moving. And it's funny because I talked about in 2023 how the market felt frozen. And it felt like we had a lot of buyers who were afraid to buy because rates were high. We had sellers that didn't want to sell because they were locked in with low interest rates. Well, that lock-in effect is decreasing right now. You have fewer sellers with low interest rates. Why? Well, because we're 4 years after the lowest of interest rates. And life has happened for those people. People have had to sell. People have had to refinance. There are actually more people with rates over 6% right now than people with rates under 3%. So you've got more sellers saying, hey, it's not a big deal. Like, I'll sell my house. Just got a call today from a past client who had moved back east, and now her mom wants to move back east with her. So they moved from California. She made the move a year ago. Now it's time for mom to make the move. Well, I haven't talked to mom yet, but I'm guessing mom's got either a super low interest rate or a paid off home. But mom wants to move because mom wants to be closer to her kids and grandkids. And so that's really what we're seeing is more market activity. When there's a motivation beyond financial, then people take action. When there's a job change, when there's, hey, I want a better environment, better school district, you're going to do whatever it takes. It's not a financial move. It's a familial move. Those moves happen. It's the seller that says, I don't know, maybe I want to sell it because I think it's a good time in the market. They're the ones that are still standing on the side and saying, I'm not selling because I'm not getting my price. Same with the buyers. When the buyers say, hey, I'm buying because, well, I don't know, I want to buy at the perfect time. There ain't no perfect time. Okay. Said it before, it's not time in the market, it's time in the market. If you bought a home in 2023, you are 3 years later, your house price may not have gone up very much over the last 3 years. But I'll tell you what, you got a great tax write-off over the last 3 years. You've paid down your balance on the loan over the last 3 years. And I have a client right now who's literally competing to buy a home. They're in negotiations, multiple counter offer is what it's called. They're going back and forth, and they're trying to buy a home at $750,000 to $800,000 price range. They bought a home with me 2.5 years ago at around a $500,000 price, and now it's time to upgrade. They're actually using one of my buy before you sell options where they're buying the new home, then they're selling the old one afterwards. They're not going to make much money out of that home, but it was timing that gave them the perfect springboard now to buy this next home. So there's lots of activity happening in the market right now. Homes are selling if they're priced right. The issue is more and more homes are hitting the market. And if you're not priced right, you're not going to be sold. And so you've got to think realistically as a seller, because we're seeing buyers still stepping in, even with interest rates where they're at. So we're seeing interest rates right now that are pushing up. The truth is, the Fed held rates again. So the Fed met on Wednesday. It was Jerome Powell's last meeting as the head of the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell had a lot to say. And he basically said, look, we're not lowering interest rates. We're worried about inflation. There is still, inflation has not come down. A lot of the inflation problem has to do with what's happening in Iran. You've got the blockade that's happening. You've got no oil moving through the Strait of Hormuz. You've got issues with oil really impacting everything when it comes to the economy. And therefore, it is making everything a little bit more expensive. And that really hasn't even hit everywhere yet. And so we're going to see potential for inflation to be inflated. The question is it short term or is it long term? Well, that's where the markets are trying to figure it out. And that's creating a huge amount of volatility. Matter of fact, on Wednesday, the day the Fed met, we saw interest rates jump up the most we had seen in the last 6 weeks. And everybody said, oh, it's because of the Fed. No, it's because of Trump saying, hey, I'm ready to make this blockade in the Strait of Hormuz even longer. I'm ready to hunker down and make this last a lot longer. And the markets reacted more to that and caused interest rates to go up than the Fed. But the Fed is still an important piece of this. So here's the bottom line. Rates aren't dropping anytime soon. We've got too much volatility. But I will tell you, we have a program that basically will allow you to refinance. And we're going to waive a lot of the fees when you refinance. If you purchase a home today, and I believe it gives you a year and a half to refinance, and we will waive the fees for refinancing. You won't pay underwriting, you won't pay processing. We're going to waive all of those fees because we hope and expect rates will drop once all this global political drama subsides. But now is the time to get into the housing market if you can afford it. Now, here's the deal, though. It's going to be a lot more drama with the Fed, because if you pay attention to any of this stuff, what's happening is the Fed has, for the first time on Wednesday, they had multiple people come out immediately after Jerome Powell spoke to say they completely disagree with what Powell said. You had 3 different people come out and disagree with what the committee had said. The committee has always historically stuck together, even if they disagreed. It's like telling our kids, hey, what happens in our family stays in our family. When we leave this house, we are on a united front. You don't share this stuff. Well, guess what? They're now sharing that they disagree with the consensus of what the Fed is saying. So we have very much a divided Fed. The new Fed chairman literally said last week, I want more conflict within the Fed. Well, he's going to get it because Jerome Powell is doing something that has never been done in the 75-year history of the Fed, which is he is stepping, well, he doesn't have a choice. He's no longer going to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve, but he technically has 1 more year on the board. So he's still a board member. Every single prior chairman, the moment that their term as chairperson ended, they stepped down from the board. Powell said, nope, I'm not leaving. I feel like the Fed is under attack from the executive branch, from the president, and I'm not going anywhere, which means he's digging in his heels and going to make it really hard for the incoming Fed chairperson to fight back, to get the low rates that he wants, because he's not going to have control because Powell's still going to be there. Okay, so that's going to be another issue of drama that's going to create more uncertainty over the next year. Okay, I already mentioned global impact. Inflation is a really, really big deal. So we just have to pay attention to inflation and where that's going, and that's being driven in large part by the issues in Iran. All right, 2 more things I want to cover. Quick update on the Dream for All program. We know nothing. We know nothing. The Cal HFA said, hey, we're thinking probably early May. A month ago. A week ago, they sent another note saying, stop asking. We don't know when we're going to get it announced. And guess what? Even if we did know, we're not going to tell you. So just be patient and wait until you find out. So how you're going to find out is anyone who's in the Dream for All lottery, you're going to get an email. You're all going to get the email at the same time that's going to say, congratulations, you're going to have to log in, but you either got a voucher, you're on the wait list, or you were not selected. Once those announcements come out, I will be sending out emails and links to 3 different webinars per group. Jump onto one of those webinars and I'll be able to tell you exactly what to do next. We'll run through the numbers, all of that. All right. The final thing I want to talk about today is our program for zero mortgage insurance without having to put 20% down. Specifically, it's designed for putting 15% down because a lot of people, they scrape and they borrow money in order to get to 20% down because they're so laser focused on, I don't want to pay mortgage insurance. I get it. I wouldn't want to pay mortgage insurance either. But the truth is, do you really want to borrow extra money from mom and dad or rob your 401k just to get yourself a little bit more down in order to come up with the 20% down and avoid mortgage insurance? What if you had another option? We have a program that gives you exactly the same interest rate, exactly the same fees. The mortgage insurance is not hidden anywhere. It's not included in a bump in your interest rate. It's not included in a bump of fees. It's not included at all. As long as you're putting 15% down, you got to have good credit and good income. Okay, so not everybody's going to qualify for it, but it's an amazing option to help you if you're saying, hey, John, I'm trying to buy a house. I'm borrowing some money. I'm getting a gift. I'm trying to pull this all together. I'm going to liquidate my 401k. I will tell you, liquidating your 401k is fine as a last resort, not as a first option. Okay, so be very, very careful about borrowing against your 401k. That can create some issues down the road that you didn't expect. So I just want to be cautious. 401k loans are a good way to get the down payment on a home, but it's not always the right way. And so be cautious when you're looking at doing that and figure out, are there other alternatives for me to make this happen? So at this point, guys, really appreciate everybody joining. I'm always here for questions. If you have any questions right now, feel free to hop on and ask me a question. I've got way more people now than I had at the beginning. I don't know where you all were 15 minutes ago, but I want to hang out for just a quick second. So if you have a question, type it in right now about anything that you want. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up here in about 30 seconds by saying I am interviewing for the job of being your lender. Okay. I do not make any money from YouTube. I am looking for opportunities to serve you no matter what your situation is, whether you're looking to buy a home as a first-time home buyer, if you're a move-up buyer, if you're downsizing, or you're looking to refinance. I can help you with anything that you are trying to accomplish. Just scan this QR code, get the process started with me. My team and I are willing to take great care of you, ready to take great care of you, and I'm looking forward to it. Doesn't look like I have any questions that popped up, so I really appreciate it. Those of you who joined late, go back in and watch from the beginning on the recorded version. If you're watching it recorded, post your comments. I'm happy to address them. Thank you for listening. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.